This is for Freddie, Tommy, and Eli. This is Oma, and it is March 20th, 2020. And we thought you'd like to know a little more about Opa. And so I'm going to ask Opa questions, and he'll answer them, I'm hoping. So let's start when you were little. What was your nickname when you were a little boy, and why did you have that nickname?
My nickname when I was a small child was Cookie, and that's because I decided to do Halloween one better and have cookies on request whenever I felt like it. So I used to go up and down the neighborhood and introduce myself as Cookie, and I'm called that because everybody gives me a cookie when I visit.
And how long did you do that?
I probably did it for about 2 years or so. The name stuck, but I had a lot of other names I was called when I was growing up.
What were your other names? Because, of course, we've got so many Frank Edward Robbins floating around.
Well, I was named Fang, and that was a parody of the Jack London story about White Fang. And it was also a parody of Soupy Sales' cartoon kid show in the New York City area when I was growing up.
Can you tell them who Soupy Sales was?
Soupy Sales was a comedian who used to occasionally perform stunts on the adult audience, such as they were watching this cartoon kid show. And what he would do is he would ask the parents to please let their child go into their room when they're not around, take those green pieces of paper out of their wallet, and send them to Soupy Sales, care of this television station.
What TV did you like to watch when you were a kid?
Bozo the Clown, and I had the distinction of being on the local Bozo the Clown Show TV program. And they asked me what I wanted to do when I grow up, and I said, I want to be a fighter pilot. And they said, oh, you mean you want to fly the fighter planes? I said, no, I want to be a pilot. And I don't want to be a pilot, I want to be the fighter plane.
How long did that last?
About a year, I'd say. People straightened me out, but it took a while.
So how many kids were in your family, and tell us about them?
7 kids, and one of my most vivid experiences as a child that I remember in great detail are pounding, absolutely pounding as hard as I could on the bathroom door and yelling the words, "I gotta go!" We oftentimes had as few as one bathroom available for our entire family of 7 children and, of course, our 2 parents.
What was that like?
Well, I remember my sister once deciding to test the system, and she did it by locking herself in the bathroom, one of the 2 bathrooms we had in the house at the time, and she would only communicate to us by written messages, and we tried to figure out what she was using inside this bathroom. It was sort of a bathroom / pantry, and the writing was always in brown ink, except we wondered what this brown ink was coming out of the bathroom.
So why don't you go through who your siblings were? Start at the oldest and tell us a little bit about each one of them.
My oldest brother was Bruce. Bruce was a little bit of a rebel. He wore his hair short and had it stand up with waxing frequently, and that was called a butch haircut, so he was very butch in some ways. And he would go with his pals and go to the movie theater on his own, and his pals and he used to sometimes come back from a date of watching a movie together, and there'd be fighting and yelling and punching and screaming, and his friend who he had over visiting with him and out to the movie would ride away home and wouldn't be seen usually again.
So who was doing the punching? Bruce?
Oh yeah, my brother Bruce.
So this really sounds a lot like our three grandsons.
Well, our three grandsons fight somewhat, but nothing like
Bruce was,
the amount of fighting that my brother got involved with.
and so you told me one time what Bruce introduced you to that made all the difference in your life with reading.
Oh, my brother Bruce gave me two books that really changed my life. One book was the first paperback volume of Lord of the Rings, and the other was a Conan the Barbarian collection of heroic fantasy. And so between those two books, the Lord of the Rings and the Conan the Barbarian, I decided it would be a good idea to be able to read. And it was about time, because I was falling far behind my peers in reading ability. And I just really took off and became a very frequent reader as a result.